how would you prefer structured versus unstructured like content generally when we are taking out content for growth in terms of companies?
So when you say structured, what would be an example of structured versus unstructured?
Right. So for example, I'm saying like a blog, a normal blog in terms of just maybe a use case we are talking about versus a whole technological guide about how to get started and things like that. Right. So what would you like to navigate? Because blogs are really good for the general marketing, right? A lot of companies use it for general marketing. When it talks about like full-fledged documentation, it's more of getting people excited about a product, follow along and things like that. So what do you generally prefer in terms of growth inside of a company?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that everyone needs to have for sure is just really, really good documentation, and it needs to be, the highest priority, because everyone that you are talking to is going to ultimately go to your docs and use those. So I think good developer experience strictly equals good documentation, and that is a huge part, I think, of developer advocacy, is kind of keeping an eye on the docs, contributing to the docs, giving feedback, allowing, if you have a docs writer, giving them feedback. So everything that you're doing is dependent on having those good docs. But as far as like where you put your other content, I think that, I mean, we've had a few discussions about this recently on Twitter, and for me, just looking at the sheer metrics that I get, the blog posts and the written content seems to do so much better than like the video content, and I think it's for a few different reasons. First of all, it is a lot more crawlable than a YouTube video, so Google can find a million different reasons to surface your blog posts, because you might mention a library or some other stuff, and you might mention a phrase that other people are searching for. So when you create a blog post, I think you're gonna often get a lot more visibility over time than you would a video. So I think for me, like, my number one place to go is just creating a really, really solid blog post. And then after that, I might create a video, and then I'll probably link the two together. And I think, like you mentioned, if you really have a good piece of content, you should repurpose it. I don't think you should choose one or the other. I think you should just go ahead and repurpose it a few times. To me, the very top three that seem to just really make people happy and successful in building and lead to the least amount of questions as far as like, oh, I had this issue, because that means that I didn't do something right. That means that I need to go back and figure out what's going on. But I noticed that when I combine the combination of a blog post, a video, and a GitHub repo with the exact code there, that people become a lot more successful. And I think that's a really great top three pronged approach to have,
Great, definitely. And I actually, like, you kind of tied another question of mine, and that's a great thing, because like, according to you, like, the best thing is obviously blog, and it has a lot of crawlability as well, and repurposing content is a great way. Perfect.
Yeah, and then one other thing, I'm interrupting you, but like with the blog posts, you can actually go in and make updates as things change and they progress. So like a year or two later, that blog post can still live, but you have to remove the video because something changed and it's now going to make people unsuccessful, which is like the ultimate thing that you want to avoid. So the blog post lasts forever, whereas the video does not.
Right. Perfect. Cool.